Thank you, Adam. All right. So we're gonna hop into this training. This is inspired by, so I think I've said this probably 10 times in the last week. I mentioned a book and I'm like, oh, that was my favorite read of 2024. This is another one of those many favorite reads of 2024, The EOS Life. I read this in like one afternoon. That's how quick it is. But in the back of this book, there was like a bonus book. So 2 books for the price of 1, and it was called The 10 Disciplines for Managing and Maximizing Your Energy. And it's by Gino Wickman, the author of Traction. I know a handful of you are working through implementing EOS in your business. This is how you implement EOS in your personal life. So that's what we're going to go through here today. So the first discipline Gino mentioned is to have 10-year thinking. So oftentimes, even in the recent months, we've been talking business planning and we're talking about for the next year. What do you want to accomplish in the next month? There's value in taking time and thinking about, well, what do you want your business and what do you want your life to look like in the next 10 years? Matt and Dave has said this to me before, but people overestimate what they can do and accomplish in a year. But they look at my little typo there, guys, but they can underestimate what they can accomplish in 10. So this is your opportunity to really dream big. One of our How I Grew series, Sinjin sat up here, and he has a VTO for his personal life. And the one thing that he mentioned that really keeps him grounded is his 10-year target. Because when big flashy ideas and other opportunities come up and he's like, ooh, that looks like fun, I want to go do that. He can revisit his VTO and that 10-year goal and he'll ask himself, does this get me one step closer or does it distract me? And he has turned down some opportunities because of that, because it helps him stay focused. So for you right now, I know you got some paper in front of you. If you have a pen, I want you to write down the exact dates 10 years from now. So what date would it be 10 years from now? Go ahead and just write it down on your paper. We need to write it on the board. Do we need our calculating?
No. Tracy wouldn't make it good.
We will all be alive.
There you go.
Only my slides.
How are you?
Do the same thing.
All right, did everybody write down the exact dates 10 years from now?
The four.
So now what I want you to do, and this might be a little bit of a pill to swallow, but write the age you will be.
Come on.
It's a lie.
25 again. For 10 years.
No, 73.
So now, 10 years from now, at that young age, write down the most important thing that you will want to have accomplished on that date.
Another day of hope.
Just one thing. I know, narrow it down. If you have a couple, it's all right, but at least one. I know. Trust me, it was killing me too. Kinsley will be 18 and free to her own devices. I was like, oh.
I'm ready to pay for college.
College investment properties, but no weddings. That's what I've already told them. Those are their options.
Good luck.
I know. I'll get that. Moms know. All right, so here's your reflection. Does your current to-do list align with your 10-year goal? So what's on your to-do list right now? And does it get you a step closer to that target, or is it taking you away from that target? And this is a quote from this section, and I needed to read this probably now more than ever. But he says every 10 years, you're gonna have 2 great years, 6 good years, and 2 terrible years. If you operate on a 10-year horizon, you'll remain steadier and make better decisions. And that's because you'll be able to stop worrying about the small stuff, because they're in the issue that you're dealing with today, the fire that you're dealing with today, does it really matter 10 years from now? I know the ones that I'm worrying about, they don't affect me 10 years from now. When you have that long range vision to motivate you, you can worry about the actual big problems, not the small stuff. You good with that reflection? Yes, some writing, so you want to- Secondly, Gino talks about the importance of taking time off. This is a discipline that I have been struggling with, full transparency, and I'm looking around the room. I know there's a handful of you. I'm not staring through Tracy right now. That's a struggle, taking time off. So what he asks is, how many days will you commit to taking off in 2025? So if you only take off weekends, that's 104 days. So how many days will you commit to taking off? So Mike Braddock, how many days will you take off and fly to Florida and not work?
Does
The
it have to be exactly
Not
like that? I'll do the 20.
Yeah, not work.
20 days on top of weekends?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, 124 days is your.
Not saying I won't pick up the phone, but I'm not wired that way. I'll never.
It's difficult.
Yeah,
I'll get there. I'll get there. But I get it. My team knows that they can't send me emails on my days off because I will respond. So we've done a training on schedule send. Because I struggle.
The Wednesday before Thanksgiving, we literally, the 3 of us were like, we're gonna go to her house and have an intervention right now. Because she's not here, but she's worked, like, stop it. We love you.
You knew it was coming. I had to throw this in. You know what helps you with taking your time off? I'm blocking. And having a 411. So oftentimes, why is it that we don't take off? Oftentimes it's because we're getting distracted throughout the work week. We're not sticking to our time blocks and our priorities. And then the priorities leak into what time we should be taking off. Is that a fair statement? Yeah, that's usually my issue. There is this goal setting guide, that's what the QR code is, on how to go from using your long-term goal to a GPS, which is your 3 strategies or priorities for the year, how to convert that information then to your 411, to break down your year goal, to monthly goals, to weekly goals. But then the part that I felt was most valuable is it helps you then take your 411 and time block it. That's normally, when I'm consulting with agents, the biggest hurdle. They know what priorities they need to do. Figuring that out usually isn't that difficult. It's how do they translate their plan to actionable steps in their calendar. So this goal helps you do just that.
Brittany.
Yes.
So most of us, I think, would do better with things if we understood the why. Are you going to share with us why we should schedule time off?
Oh, I sure am. I'm gonna get there, Steve.
Okay, then.
I sure am.
Appreciate that.
future slides ahead. Speaking of getting distracted, so discipline number 2 is to know thyself. You can totally tell when my dog walked across my keyboard. It happened twice when I was working on this, and I keep seeing it, I'm like, oh gosh, that's where I didn't catch it. Forty.
Oh, no, see.
But I love this quote. So knowing thyself is just about knowing your strengths and your weaknesses is what it comes down to, and who you truly are. So the fact is the world wants to judge us, and that squashes our light. The sooner you decide to be yourself 100% of the time, the sooner you'll have more energy. So are any of you, like when you hang out with your work group, you act one way, and then when you're with your personal friend group, you act another way?
You're welcome.
Yeah. Shifting that personality type can actually be very draining on you from an energy perspective. So the more that you can be yourself, understanding that, there's boundaries in the professional world that you should probably keep a little tamed. But if you're constantly shifting who you are because you're worried about the perception of others, all that mental work absolutely drains you.
I'm like Tracy, what you see is what you get.
People
We
train.
appreciate
People train on
Angie, nobody told me I was supposed to be worried about the perception.
And some of us live in bliss, and they are them true authentic selves, and that's what we want, for sure. So here are just some ways on how you can accomplish that. One is therapy. If you, I know, it's taboo, but let me tell you. If you wanna learn about yourself, take therapy. I believe everybody should go through therapy at least once in their life. It's mind blowing on how much you do get out of it and how much energy you'll get back because you put in the work to understand yourself. If you're vulnerable enough, receive honest feedback from people in your life. Gino, in the book, he tells you to go ask 5 people that you trust. Taking clarity breaks, so just time to yourself. And then I think another great tool that we have here at Keller Williams is you can take the Keller personality assessment. Although that's geared to try to help you figure out what roles in the real estate industry would be best fitted for your personality, your strengths and your weaknesses. It's a form of therapy, in my opinion, because you really do learn what your strengths are, your weaknesses are, what you like and what you don't. And that clarity helps you move forward. So you're not going down one path that's leading you to burnout. Instead, it puts you on the path that leads you to the job that gives you purpose. So Adrian and I, we will help you go through that process. But it's one of my favorite things to do with agents. Kelly?
I can attest to that. When I first came here, it'll be 2 years in April. That definitely was a huge help. And the question is, how do I do it again?
So email Adrian, she'll send you the test. If it's been more than a year, we do recommend you retake it.
I'd love to.
Yeah, we'll absolutely do that.
If it's been less than a year, are we able to request copies of like the report back that we get following that?
So instead of getting the report back, what we'll do is schedule a 30-minute verification meeting with you. And what that does is we're going to ask you questions. And based on those questions, we're going to see how accurate the test actually was. In that question and answering process of verifying it is where all of that self-discovery begins.
Okay.
But we would, every single person in this room, we would love to go through that process with every single one of you. It's the best thing you can do for your personal life and your career. And we can do it multiple times.
You cannot fail it, Tracy.
Yeah.
I think too, it's also really a unique, because I know our experience with the KPA was a little unique, is that when you are going through a significant change in your life, it can be personal, it can be business, it can be just life, that where you are when you're taking that test can shift with your life experience. So I took the KPA when I came again, and then, because of my life, I took it again, and it showed different, because of the space that I was in. So I find it very helpful, in career planning specifically, to really try to focus in on say, okay, here's where I'm at right here, right now. This is what I need to adjust. This is how I need to leverage out the rest of my business.
This is why you need to hire Precision PC.
Correct. This is why. This is. Which I did. They're amazing. So, yeah, so I highly recommend taking it.
Can you compare? Because that's what I look forward to the most, just to see
Oh,
the
for sure.
difference from then till now and the growth between the two. And the 2 years I know personally as well,
Mhm.
huge life changes. So I very much look forward to seeing that. Great.
Yeah, so we would love to do that with all of you. And then lastly with that one, it's just you can't be all things to all people. So what is the one thing you will commit to? This is for you to journal. What is the one thing you will commit to in the next 24 hours to move closer to knowing yourself? Signing up for therapy.
Is that here somewhere? Is there a scan?
You know, I should have done that.
We thought about hiring an in-house therapist.
Yeah. That or person.
We'll add that on the opportunity.
Dr. Seuss.
Actually, Matt wants to take that role.
You want to see somebody alter their personality.
The fourth discipline is be still. So this is gonna relate to Steve's great question about why we need to take time off. But if you could take some time every day, and whether it's meditation, it's prayer, it's silence, it's simply breathing. For the last couple of months, I've literally had a time block in my calendar called breathe. And it was so I could just take a couple minutes to turn off, not constantly feel the need to respond to text messages, like just take a couple minutes and like let my brain decompress. In the book, Gino talks about if you were to put, I can use as a jar, the only graphics I could find were a glass, so just mentally be here with me. But if there's a jar and there's sand and water in the jar, it's gonna look like this. If you put the sand in first and you pour water on top, they're separated and the water's clear. You shake that jar, the sand's gonna make the water murky and cloudy. And that's how our brains get throughout the day with all the text messages, the emails. In one part of your life, things are going super well. And then like all of a sudden this fire over here happens. You're like, I didn't even know that could happen, right? That's life. So when you take time to be still, it allows the brain to defog and that sand to settle, or for you, just all the problems to settle, and then you can be clear again. And doing that every day is great, but back to Steve's point, this is why you need to take some long-term time off, like a few days in a row, a week in a row. In the book, they challenge you, like, what would it look like if you could take a month off? And he goes as far as, if you can't take a month off, then what systems need to be put in place so that way your business could run an entire month without you?
Wow.
So maybe that's a reflection.
Wow.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and your last 2 points are so connected because what I wrote down is how to know myself better in the next 24 hours. Be quiet. Because the reason most of us don't know ourselves is we don't take long enough to stop and actually say, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? We're task oriented. So we go from task to task, and then somebody says, well, how are you doing? You know, I really don't have any idea because I wasn't quiet enough to realize how I'm doing or not doing.
Yeah, I love that. I remember at one point, being a young mom, like I couldn't even really remember like what music I liked. Cause like when I was in the car, like it was Frozen, my kids were super into Frozen. And I mean, I remember I would drop them off at daycare and I would get to Select Medical and I'd be like, oh my God, I listened to Frozen the entire way. But, so now for me, like I take that, my decompression time is on my way home. I don't listen to anything. And like I have found that to be, it's the thing that helps me just relax, let the anxiety kind of, the stress from the day die down. But then it helps me transition. So when I'm taking the team leader hat off and I'm putting the wife and mom hat on going into my house, I'm able to do that because I took some time to just be silent. Does anybody, oh, go ahead.
You know what else happened, allows you to be still is precision TC services. We do right, we do attend celebrate, we do good things, when we do transaction for.
That's the answer.
That allows.
Does help. We should have made you all pay. Part of making time to be still is knowing your 100%. And what Gino's referring to here is how many hours per week can you personally work? And then still have energy to do the things that you love and want to do. And this is different for everybody. I know some people that their max is 40 hours a week. If they're starting to work 50, they're gonna burn out. And then there's others that could work 80 hours a week and still have energy to do things that they love. Everybody's different.
When I say it also for myself, just going through different things, like medically, that having like what I was able to do and then changing what the new, what I'm able to do, as I'm working through different things, it's just, and then giving myself grace.
I love
You
that.
know that, yeah, I can't do all the hours I'm used to doing, so if I focus on like the 3 most important things that day, and I get one of them done, sometimes less. It's not that the way.
For sure. Yeah, understanding what your capacity is in that season. You know, Shannon, as you get closer to the wedding, your work box might get a little smaller because you might need more energy to plan for that wedding to help your daughter prepare for the biggest moment in her life to date. So understanding that work container will also help you plan around those activities that you need to do, help you prioritize, because you're like, all right, this is it. If I work more than 50 hours a week, when I come home, short-tempered with my kids. And that's not who I want to be when I come home. So how do you stay in your work container? The 6th discipline is to say no and to say no often. So I think it was Warren Buffett who quoted this on here on the most successful people say no all the time.
No is a complete sentence.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
It sure is.
It's a command.
And it's an okay answer. Oh, my Lanta. I'm no longer looking on the couch. I can literally picture when Daisy would like walk across my and I'd be like, but how do we say no? So the reason why we don't say no, or at least I don't say no, is I tend to regret when I say no. I feel like I am not being helpful to you if I say no. And then I feel guilty about it for a little bit. But what I need to think about, and what we all need to think about is, do we want the temporary pain of saying no, right? Saying no in that moment, that regret is gonna go away in just a couple of minutes. It'll fizzle out because it's probably not as big of a deal as what we're making it in our heads. Or do we wanna deal with the pain of saying yes, and then we regret it for days, supposed to say weeks, or months afterwards? Like, I know I've been there where I've said yes, and then like within minutes, I'm like, oh my God, my life is gonna be a living hell for the next couple of months. So if it is not a hell yes, then it should just be a no. And that's completely okay.
So my 12-year-old. No means no, right?
Now, I will, I will say with my 15-year-old, I find myself, because she is like her mother and she tends to be a people pleaser. And so I hear her say yes all the time. I have started saying to her, Molly, I'm gonna ask you a question and no is an okay answer. Right? Give her permission to not have to be the people pleaser and let her know it's not gonna hurt my feelings if you don't wanna ABC, whatever. But giving people permission to actually say no and it's okay. You don't have to do all the things.
Right.
Be all the things. Yeah.
I love that. Reflect for you in your journal. What is one thing you've recently agreed to do when you should have said no?
Sorry.
Just one?
Right.
I have a good one.
Share.
Okay, so I'm in the process of reconsidering a no. And we've been the host for my husband's side of the family for Christmas. Eating dinner. I said, I would like a break this year. It's been a year. It's been many years that I'm just like, I just needed a break. I need a break. So I told my husband, you can tell them, no, someone else can host it. It doesn't matter where just someone else can take that responsibility. As long as we're all together, it shouldn't matter where it is. And apparently now that wasn't an okay answer. So nobody's accepting that as an opportunity to host or the responsibility to host. So now it's, yes, right, yeah. So I'm like in the process of like, should I just?
No.
No.
Stay strong.
No.
Stay strong.
Stay strong.
How can
Like the host. Yeah.
You can send
So
out
now it's like, let's finish a fire hall. I'm like, we have to stay to have dinner together on a fire hall?
If it's not a hell yes.
Yeah.
They got Cracker Barrels for that.
That's leverage.
That's right.
Take the money, it's leverage.
Waffle House.
You just have to remember, if you are a people pleaser and you usually say yes, it takes people aback a little bit when you start
When you say
saying no.
no, yeah. it does.
So they gotta get comfortable with the new you.
Yep.
And they don't always like it at first. I keep thinking about if I should share.
Go ahead, Sharon.
Okay.
You said it.
Furniture.
This might have been a conversation I could have had a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, I'll share. So not a lot of you know, but I have been helping my uncle get back on his feet since like January. He had a house fire, it was a whole thing. And he just was going through the roughest of seasons. And so we were helping him and he was looking for a place. And he was staying with my mom for a little bit. He comes to me one day and he's like, hey, Britt, like, you got that spare room in your house. Can I store like a dresser or two in there? I'm like, sure. Like, go right, yeah, bring it over. I'm at work, but like, the code's unlocked. I come home.
Oh, no.
And my whole basement is completely
No.
filled with couches, chairs, beds, dressers, boxes of like plates and paper towel. Like, I have an entire house in my basement. I can't use my basement. And I think my team thought I was like over exaggerating, and then they came over to my house and they're like, "You're kidding." Your whole house is filled with furniture. And that was a situation that I should have asked more questions. So it doesn't have to be no right away. It could be, let me dig into this. Like, let's ask. And then it could be a no or a yes, depending on what you get. So go layers deep is what I would recommend. But when my uncle finally found a place that he was getting rid of his stuff, he came over to move everything out. All of his stuff brought mice with it.
Oh.
Not my thing. So luckily we called Gilbert's and they came and the mice are gone. We trapped 5 mice. So great reason why you should just sometimes say no. Because
It was not.
it was not worth it. Not worth it at all.
No.
Oh, to reflect, what is one thing you should have said no to? And what's one thing you're gonna say no to? Or commit to saying no at least once this week? The one thing that our team does, what we'll do is we'll say like on Monday, is there something on our calendar this week that we can cancel or reschedule? So sometimes that's like the webinar that you know you'll get the recording for later. Like, do we really have to watch it at that moment? Or can we say, you know what, I'm gonna take this off the calendar because I'm at capacity. It can be little things like that. Doesn't have to be life changing. Doesn't have to be saying no to the uncle with bringing furniture into the house. It could be something small. Let's start there. Chris, another great opportunity. Don't do $25 an hour work if you want to earn 6 figures. How do you do that? You eliminate administrative tasks and you delegate and elevate. So right now, real quick, I want you to take a couple of minutes and just write everything that you can think of that you've done in the last few weeks. Maybe it's like cleaning the house, or doing laundry, maybe it's putting the listing in bright all by yourself. Ordering photos.
Can I give a plug for Keys Please here?
Oh.
Yes.
The day I started utilizing Keys Please, my lead generation is much stronger because now I know I have reliable people to handle showings when I don't want to.
Oh, I love that. Yes, say it louder for the people in the back.
Yeah, and it's a great tool for some younger agents and newer agents to get just a lot of experience. And I've found they can get a lot more experience because they are not the source. They have no skin in the game. They're kind of the just showing agent. So they get a lot of experience with those clients.
And you get responses faster. Like when you post it in the Facebook group, somebody has to be on Facebook to see it. But Keys Please works like Uber and it gives them an alert.
Yeah, it goes out to all the agents and
Yeah.
anybody can grab it.
They
And
have the app down.
And you pay
Yeah.
them through the app. So it's literally like Uber for real estate.
If you have questions about it, we'll get you taken care of, yeah.
So once you've done your laundry list, I want you to put it in these 4 categories. Things that you love to do and are great at. Things you like to do and are good at. Things that you don't like to do, but maybe you are good at them. And then things that you don't like to do. And that you're bad at.
We're separating with them.
Yeah, we're ended Friday at like 6. So now as you fill this out, I would recommend that you do this quarterly because life changes, circumstances change, you grow, you get busier, right? The goal is to continually take things from these 2 boxes and delegate them. Delegating might be to a person, it might be systematizing. There's a lot of options on how you can do that. But the goal is 1 per quarter. Like if you can take 1 thing in the next 90 days from the don't like and bad at quadrant, what would it be? For the longest time, I wouldn't have a cleaning company to clean the house for me on a regular basis. I kept thinking like fear mindset and thinking about the money I was losing to cleaning company in the back. But what I wasn't thinking about was the energy I was gonna get back, which helped me be more present with my kids, which then spilled into being able to be more productive at work. Like it's this positive spiral. And you don't always think that it's gonna affect you work-wise if it's like a personal delegate and elevate. But when you're happier and you have more energy, you will be more productive. Hence why taking off time is so important, because when you take that time to reset, you have more energy, and then when you're in your work box, your work container time, you're gonna have more efficiency and productivity because you're just, it's different than like if you're trying to work when you're sick, like Adrian was sick recently. When you're not feeling well, you can't perform at the highest level. You just can't. We're almost done. 8, this is actually one of my favorite ones. It's prepare every night. So go to bed knowing exactly what you're gonna do tomorrow. So how can you do that? Lay out your entire day in writing. This is a great time to take out that 411. What tasks do you need to prioritize? What time blocks do you need to adjust or add to your calendar? Are there any appointments that you need to cancel to help free up your capacity? If you're lead generating, what does it look like if you have your call list prepared for you for the next day? So I started adding to my time blocks, like who I'm gonna call. Because part of my problem with lead gen is like, okay, it's 9, now what? And then I found myself going back to like the same list because it was comfortable, it was easily accessible. And I wasn't switching it up enough to dial different groups of people. And then also, what can you elevate? Delegate and elevate. So your to-do for this one is practice this for 1 week. And then I just want you to reflect on how you feel, because right now you might be saying, well, that's one more thing I have to do every day. So prepare every night. It doesn't have to be even an hour, like probably 30 minutes. And then see how your week changes, see how much more energy you have. A couple bolds ago, the bold coach mentioned that we like, by the time we get to work, we've already made 100 decisions that day. And some of it is like your outfit. If you have kids, it's their outfit. Like, what are they packing for lunch? What are you doing for lunch? Like all these little things that we don't realize actually take up our energy. So if you can get it out of the way the night before, you'll start your morning with more energy and more enthusiasm. Put everything in one place. Where's Caleb? I was totally gonna pick on him and his sticky notes. We're training Caleb to put everything in one place, because your brain and sticky notes can't keep track of everything. You'll end up losing it, and you'll let people down because you're just gonna forget something important. So have one journal, have one planner, one place where you're putting everything that you can go back to, and this will actually help you with that prep time that night. Because you can go through that. Was there any notes that you took that day, any to-dos that came up that you're like, I don't want to do this right now, but I don't want to lose sight of it, that you can then time block for the next day. So find that one system that helps keep you organized. I know Adrian does a great job at this. She has a to-do, kind of like what would you?
It's like a daily planner sheet that I use
Yeah.
It's my go-to tracker goals and.
All things, and everything goes on that piece of paper for the day, so then she knows, what did we talk about earlier, what was that to do, she knows exactly where to find it. And then lastly, his discipline was to be humble. Gino said humility is not thinking less of yourself, it is thinking of, or not Gino, is thinking of yourself less, by Rick Warren. I thought this was an interesting exercise, because I think most people would generally like to say, we're humble. But on your private notepad, where would you rate yourself? And then if you want to take it a step further, where do you think others would rate you?
Don't confuse decisive with arrogance.
Right.
Would be humble and decisive at the same time.
Like, confidence too is like, I think there's a level of confidence that you can have in others that you can be humble as all get out, but you have the confidence that I know you, Brittany, and I know that you can do X, Y, Z, P, D, Q. And the fact that I know that you know, that I know that you know, that you can do it, and that I'm not gonna enable you by, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna stand my ground. That's not arrogant. That's like, I feel like sometimes arrogance is an interesting. What's the word?
Homonym?
Common?
Or antonyms?
Or, no, personal traits?
I think it's like connotations with the word.
Yes.
Yeah,
The meaning of it.
yeah. I do think sometimes confidence can be misconstrued
Screwed as arrogance, yeah.
for sure. And the reason why he has this as a discipline, is you attract people who mirror your attitude. So have you ever been in a room, or maybe you've worked in an environment where everybody's kind of wah.
Yeah.
Negative Nelly?
Yeah.
It brings your energy down when you're in an environment like that, and like when you're in an environment like that for too long, it's toxic. So that's where the humbleness, I think that's what we have going for us here at GW is our culture. When I'm having a bad day, like I watch it because I know that the energy from everybody else is gonna help me up. And I hope that I'm that for everybody else. Because it does play into how much energy out today. If you liked this training, there's a whole website dedicated to this effort. So you can scan the QR code for resources. Book recommendations, obviously the US Life where I got this from. Gino wrote another book called Shine, that I think would be really helpful. 2 books around that silence piece. One is Do Nothing, and then Think Like a Monk. That one is actually Ben's, Ben Giles, not Ben Espenshade, my Ben. That's one of his favorites for being able to learn, because it's not something that you can just go do. That's what I found, like you actually kind of have to train yourself to be able to just sit with yourself and do nothing. And then also the book that kept kind of coming to my mind as I was reading this was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Last one. Like, y'all may be free. Do you have any?
No, we're not gonna free.
It's from. Oh, that's right. Do you guys want to figure out how to win the gift card from the anonymous survey?
If you filled out the survey, whether it was here or earlier this week, stand up.
If you filled it out, stand up. That's a treat.
Remember if I did?
Hey, we're gonna do a real quick rock, paper, scissors tournament. Does everybody know how to play rock, paper, scissors? Everybody, do you need me to explain rock, paper, scissors?
I can't teach it.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot, right?
Shoot on 4.
Shoot on 4.
Yeah.
Rock, paper, scissors. Paper, rock, scissors, right? If you need help figuring out, let us know. Find a partner, just find a partner. And then I want you to go until there's 2 people left. Do it. Do it. So you have to sit down. No point, just one. Just one.
Yes.
Okay, Tony. Now.
Here we go. Are you still in? I keep watching last night. Come on up. Come on up. You're still in.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, Vera. We're down to the last couple.
Pressure.
It's just.
I actually have.
Yeah, like.
Right now. Ready?
I can anticipate it. Just impossible.
Okay. At the regional meeting last week, we had a rock, paper, scissors tournament. Michelle McBride spent 10 minutes explaining how to play rock, paper, scissors, and at one point George Kelly was like, I risk you for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Explaining how to play rock, paper. See you soon, everybody. Way to go. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Oh my.
It was on our KW store
Trying to play rock, paper, scissors last year.
last
Okay.
year.
Like, right there with thumb wrestling.
It's kind of just-
Oh, that's always, that at least takes skill. Yeah, you gotta.
Oh my God.
But, right?